It is 4:04 and January 31st, 2017. This is the Poway Unified School District Board of Education meeting. Welcome. This is our open session to allow public comment on our closed session items only. If you'd like to address the board on any closed session agenda item, please complete a speaker slip and submit it to our executive assistant. You'll be allotted 3 minutes to speak on a closed agenda item. And at this point, if you wish to speak on any of our open session agenda items, you're welcome to return and put in a new speaker slip for our regular board meeting that starts at 6 p.m. So at this time, I'll go to Clerk Patel.
We do have 2 public speakers at this time. I'd first like to welcome Barry Leonard.
Welcome. Come on down.
Kind of tag team?
Oh, sure. And John Mullen.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. I'm Barry Leonard. I'm a Poway City Council member and the current Deputy Mayor for the City of Poway.
John Mullen, Council Member, City of Poway. Do you need residence addresses? Okay. Thank you. So Barry and I are here because we have initiated and then been subsequently appointed by the City of Poway to spearhead energy-saving mechanisms throughout the city where the opportunity may exist. And it is in that capacity that we are here today to urge your support of your closed session item number 2, which is an agreement between yourselves and ourselves for solar at the Performing Arts Center, Poway High Performing Arts Center. The item is titled Property Negotiations, but really in fact consists of nothing more than your concurrence to allow us to proceed and install carport-mounted photovoltaic systems. We're also proposing to split the cost in the same portion that we split the expenses for the joint use facility as agreement currently in place. And I wanted to let you know this, we look at this as another step down a long road that we've had with PUSD, a road of cooperation and mutual respect between our organizations. We see it as another example of this long-standing mutually beneficial relationship that the city has had with PUSD. Either as a result of this relationship, I'm not sure maybe a cause of the relationship, the city has fully funded the cost of the PCPA itself, the acquisition and development of an acre parking lot on the south side of Titan Way, which we provide and leave without condition, allowed PUSD to maintain, not to operate. Two multi-purpose that I can think of, gymnasiums that we've paid for, athletic fields, artificial turf, field lights, just to name a few. And it may not be all that evident, but in addition to paying the lion's share of the expenses, the city has spent about $1.3 million in the last 10 years on improvements to the PCPA. We've just completed a fall protection system for safety features throughout the PCPA, mostly in the back-end operating. Performed improvements and upgrades to the lighting, sound system, HVAC, flooring, and signage, just to name a few. I'm sure you're also probably aware that the city is one of the few cities that you might argue could be done elsewhere, but we fully fund school resource officers at Poway High and at Abraxas High School. All of this cost for construction, shared maintenance, as well as judicial security by the SROs is to improve the lives of the PU student body, enhance their educational experience, and improve the city as a whole. We acknowledge that these are mutually beneficial, which is the premise for my comments and the premise for the proposal. But it's also important to note that each of our agencies is facing ever-increasing costs of building operations, including energy, and it's become imperative for us to examine strategies to assure that the long-term operating costs don't exceed available resources. I'm going to take a minute of Barry's because I'm almost done. But in this case, examining those strategies also means examining strategies to assure that our partnership with PUSD for the joint use and operation of the Poway Performing Arts Center is sustainable for the long term. So, become no surprise that those two ideas merge and that the photovoltaic solar has also then emerged as really the kind of first apparent and most obvious solution to address those issues. And it is confirmation of that plan that we are looking for your concurrence today. Being a joint use facility, we've prepared an MOU. And we think pretty straightforward, and that's what we're asking for your concurrence with. At this point now, I'll turn over to Barry for the minute he has left.
I have two. Thank you. Essentially, John covered most of the high points, but the situation is such that costs are increasing on us. We're watching the budget closely, and I'm sure you are as well. And the electrical costs in that facility are huge. There's 40,000 lights in that building. The PUSD is responsible for 35% of the cost of those lights. Essentially, we pay for the bulbs, and then we split the cost of the juice going through them. We looked at different iterations. We looked at trying to figure a way to put it all on the roof as far as solar goes, and it really wasn't feasible because the roof has many different levels. There's a special rate that we can get through SDG&E because we have a meter there and being a municipality, the city of Poway is entitled to get a special rate from SDG&E that we couldn't get otherwise. We just don't have the turf for that. We're offering the high school folks covered parking for the administration. The fire department has reviewed the layout, and they've said it passes their safety requirements as far as getting emergency vehicles in and out. We have a substantial capital investment in that facility that's getting older every day, and we're trying to do the best we can to make sure that we're doing the right thing fiscally with the money that we have. So we're here to ask today that you folks would consider it. Why are we here and why are we pushing on this thing? It's because we only have a very short window to get this approved so we can go out to bid to get it done, because we have 6 weeks maybe in the summertime to do the physical construction before school starts again. And unless we get this thing done very shortly, we'll miss that window. And that would be a shame. There was a letter, I don't know if you've seen it or not, it was to Dr. Apostle from our city manager. It outlined some of the cost savings. They're very substantial. And it's also, it's a good thing to do for the environment. It's a good thing to do for patting ourselves on the back and saying we're doing some green things, and it's pretty good. So we would appreciate your consent on this, and if there's any further questions, we're here to answer them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, both for being here today. Are there any questions for these gentlemen at this time? No? Okay, thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate the comments. Thank you. And additional, okay.
We have one additional public comment, Kimberly Beatty, on agenda item 7.
Yes, I would like to poll agenda item 7, as it was snuck on the agenda on Friday evening without the board knowledge or authority, or as well as the superintendent, who is in charge of putting the docket together.
Is this a public comment, Ms. Beatty?
No, this is a request to pull this agenda item based on the fact that it was
Okay, I would disagree
it's
with
unlawful.
everything you just said. Dr. Apostle, did you know about this item? Did you approve this item before it went to print? Number 7. Did you turn on your mic? Could you
Yes.
explain to Ms. Beatty how this agenda item came to be on the agenda?
I understand that Amanda received information from Mel earlier in the day, and a written response from Mel to Amanda was prepared, and I was not aware of it. I thought that it come in around 5 o'clock before I left at 4:50 that day, and so Amanda's here to speak to her conversation that she had with Dr. Robertson as well, if you have any questions for her.
No, this doesn't dispute the point that this was done without board knowledge, but more importantly, this is an illegal agenda item because the board president has no authority to make herself the board's negotiator in a contract. Under Brown Act, this is a violation, and therefore this needs to be removed. Additionally, this is problematic because it lacks transparency, and this is the kind of behavior that was engaged in during the John Collins era,
Ms. Beatty, I
in which he
respectfully
was
disagree
the
with
highest
what
paid
you
superintendent
said.
in the state.
Ms.
Because
Beatty,
of a lack
relevance,
of
please.
transparency, I
Relevance.
am speaking.
Relevance, Ms. Beatty. If you wish to remove the item, would you like to allow everyone else to have their say in why that agenda item is on the docket in the first place? Perhaps it would have allayed some of your concerns if you had asked the question rather than thrown accusations.
The board president is not allowed by law to make herself the board's negotiator. There needs to be an open discussion, an open forum that is transparent and open to the public, in which the board votes on its negotiator. Has that been done, Ms. O'Connor
Ms.
Radcliffe?
Voting
Has
on your
that been
negotiator.
done? I'm waiting for an answer.
Ms. Anderson, would you like to explain how this item came to be on? I'm sorry, I'm calling you by Wendy's last name. Excuse me. Amanda.
I just reminded Dr. Apostle about the email that he received Friday morning from Dr. Robertson, and he has it in his hand, I believe. That will help explain a lot. That was sent directly to him
I haven't
that
seen
morning.
that email. I have not seen that email, so.
No, we haven't seen this
Oh, okay.
email, but this
Would you
was
like
good.
me to pass it
Yeah,
down?
pass it down.
Okay. For your information, for the whole board's information, I did not request that this item be placed on the agenda. It was suggested by an attorney that we need to cover all our bases to cover what we hoped to speak to
And this
in
is an
item
attorney you
number
had no
6.
authority to speak with.
Ms.
No
Beatty,
one
if
has
you have a
heard
motion,
of this attorney.
if you have a motion, make it. We'll have a vote.
You have asked what the basis of the claim is. First, you want to blame the superintendent. Then you want to blame the board's secretary. Now you want to blame an attorney that you reached out to without board authority.
Ms. Beatty, would
Who
you
else
like
do
to
you
make
want to
a
blame?
motion? Is there anyone to second her motion to remove this item from the agenda? Mr. Sellers.
I will second it. For one thing, doesn't
Wait,
the-
let me fill this out then. On a motion by Ms. Beatty and a second by Mr. Sellers, they would like to remove item number 7 from our agenda, from our closed session agenda. Now we'll open it to discussion. Mr. Sellers.
The question I have is, aren't we required to cite the government code section that allows us to do this? I mean, there's no reference to the exception under the Brown Act that allows us to post this. I have the same concerns Ms. Beatty does regarding Dr. Apostle's prior knowledge of this, whether he did or didn't. He told Ms. Beatty on the phone he didn't have any knowledge of it at the time, and now he's asserting that he does. I don't know what's happened in the meantime, but so that's the first thing that troubles me. The second thing is that, yes, you can't appoint yourself as the negotiator. The negotiator has to be decided upon by the board itself, and you've gone out and engaged someone to do work for the board that wasn't authorized by the board. So, and couple that with the fact that I do believe we're missing an exception citation under the Brown Act. Are we not?
This item was suggested wholesale by an attorney, so I did not question that.
And who contacted this attorney?
Staff. I did not contact this attorney, Ms. Beatty.
So staff decided that the
I have a
board...
contract with this
May I finish
firm.
my sentence?
No, you've interrupted several times. Let me explain from my perspective.
Please
We
do.
needed an attorney in our closed session for item number 6. I asked that an attorney from one of our firms that we currently have contracts with be contacted. There were 2 experts in this area who were recommended. I asked that staff contact both of them to find out who was available. That particular attorney was available. And I received the call after that this is who we're using and this is the citation that needs to go on. At that time, I saw that it said agency designated representative board president, and I asked that that not be used. Staff called the attorney back and said, does it need to be that? He said, yes. There's not actually any negotiating going on at this time, and that can be changed when we get to closed session. That's what I know, and I think additional conversation about this is best for closed session. If there's more we can do to discuss the motion before we vote.
Okay, agenda item 6, you said that an attorney was needed. This is an item where the board will be discussing its superintendent candidates. An attorney
No,
is
that's
absolutely
not what this was for.
That's the way it was explained yesterday.
By
That's
whom?
what six by you.
That's not how it was explained
Yes.
by me yesterday. Are you referring to closed session now? Are we violating Brown Act, Ms. Beatty? I would ask you to refrain. Everyone here knows what was discussed yesterday. We can take this vote now, and then we can adjourn to
No,
closed session
there
and
is
discuss
no
this.
allowance in number 6 for an attorney needs to be listed. So if you're proposing that an attorney was needed for number 6, why was agenda item number 7 placed? And why isn't the attorney listed? And why wasn't this done prior to 5 o'clock Friday afternoon?
That's within the allotted period of time. That's what's required under the Brown Act. It was posted in time.
No attorney will be allowed in the room under 6 because there's no listed attorney there.
That's not my understanding.
Well, I think you need some Brown Act training here. Now, as far as number 7, 7 was added, and labor negotiations require, if the board is to choose one of its members, one or more of its members to be a labor negotiator, that has to be discussed and voted upon in open forum.
Ms. Beatty, at this time, the board does not have a labor negotiator. We are not negotiating.
Precisely. So that's my whole point. Thank you. So I'm assuming you approve of removing
I do
number
not.
7.
I
because
do not.
Number 7 says conference with labor negotiator. This is circumscribed to the board discussing its negotiations with a prospective superintendent. We don't have a prospective superintendent. All we can
Respectfully, Ms.
discuss under
Beatty.
this is compensation and benefits.
Respectfully,
That's
Ms.
it.
Beatty, an attorney suggested this language. You are not an attorney. I'm going to trust what the attorneys told us that was necessary.
An attorney that you procured
I did
now
not.
understands, who did not know that the board had not appointed. I spoke with this attorney on the phone today.
I know you did, absolutely inappropriately and in violation of every board procedure.
Okay, this was called the pot calling the kettle black. I
I'm
have
going to
also
call the
informed
question
him-
right now. All in favor of
I
the
have
motion?
informed him that the
all in
district
favor of the
attorneys-
motion? 0.
I
All
have,
opposed?
I had one more comment I wanted to ask, at least to get it in the record. You did just acknowledge that we have no labor negotiator, yet you're using the labor negotiator exception to allow this in closed session. That does
I'm
seem
not doing anything.
bit incongruous.
I am using an
attorney's advice,
suggestion.
and you're the only one who spoke to him about this advice. Why didn't
I
he-
actually didn't speak to
why
him
didn't-
about it.
So staff did. So now staff gets.
That
so,
Dr. Apostle doesn't know about it is not my issue.
So now staff gets to docket items, not just the board and the superintendent. Staff gets to docket items. So that's the first problem I have. The second problem is, why wasn't Ms. Medina consulted? Ms. Medina is the only attorney who's actually been engaged to advise the board on particularly superintendent matters. Why was she not contacted?
I'm happy to discuss this in closed session as soon as we adjourn.
This is not.
I don't think
it's not allowed. To
I don't
be
think it's
discussed
allowed in closed session.
It needs to be discussed here.
Ms. Medina, many, many times in closed session, this board has addressed where we would like Ms. Medina to help the board. We have engaged at least 5 firms. We are allowed to select any attorney from any of those 5 firms.
But
I'm
we
sorry,
didn't
we
select anyone.
Suggested.
We didn't select anybody.
We selected 5 firms as a board. We have contracts with at least 5 firms, possibly more. At any time, the board can work with any attorney from any of those firms
Again,
under our contracts.
The board. You're not the board.
Mr. Sellers.
Nor is Mel.
All right, I'm calling the question again. All in favor of removing item 7?
For the record, I will be attending agenda item 7.
All
I will
in
be
favor.
taking notes, brief minutes, in order to pass those
All
on to
in
the district
favor of
attorney's
item number-
office,
Are you
which
are
has
you
been
remove
apprised
your-
of this issue.
Are you
Board
re-
members are allowed to speak.
Ms.
You may not
Beatty,
muzzle us.
Are you pulling your motion?
Why would I do that? No,
I just
we're
called for the aye votes.
I
I'm
am
hearing none. No aye votes?
Aye.
aye.
No votes?
Nay.
Nay.
Nay. On a 2 to 3 vote, voting yes to remove item 7 are Mr. Sellers and Ms. Beatty. Voting no to removing item 7, Dr. Patel, Mr. Zane, Ms. O'Connor Ratcliffe. That motion fails. At this time, closed session is adjourned. Open session is adjourned, I'm sorry, and we'll go to closed session. It is 4:23.
This is dictatorship. I mean, that's what it is. You know, now we've got Mel putting stuff on the agenda. Tony's not even consulted. Basically gets to talk to any lawyer. I mean, it's basically become a dictatorship. We don't get asked anything. Or even Mike Geary. And that's next week.